We got Yakima County Commissioner Amanda McKinney on the phone with us this morning, talking about the boom and maybe the gloom. Morning, Amanda. What's up?
Well, I don't know. I think there might have been boom either way. I don't know.
Yeah. Glad to see
Yeah.
you. Glad to see you guys though saying you want local control. So good job. Well,
Well,
we're in phase 3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've been pushing that for quite some time.
Yeah.
And, it just goes to show. Every time we found errors, every time we were able to guide and show that there are things that we were doing better than they were, and I'll use vaccinations actually for our Hispanic population. Statewide, the state vaccinated 7%. So 7% for people who identify as Hispanic or Latinx, although they're 13% of the population.
Right.
In Yakima, we know they represent 52% of our population, and 52% of our vaccines are going to people who are Hispanic origin. So you tell me who knows how to do it better.
Yeah, exactly. I guess. Well, were you surprised yesterday of the news? And what do you have to say about this 2-week pause?
There are a lot of other things that Jay Inslee does that I wish I could pause for a lot longer than 2 weeks. No, there was no shock and awe. I knew that there was absolutely no chance that he was going to send King County backwards. Zero. And all this does, thankfully, is open him up to more potential legal liability to all those businesses out there who have been harmed. Because you can't tell me in any way, although he tried to justify it, that this was steeped in science and data. This was purely political, which it has been. And, there are businesses out there who can see that if King County hadn't been where they were, other places right now would still be, they would go backwards. And, we've got friends in our community right now across the state who are now still stuck in phase 2, I might add.
Yeah.
Everybody's paused. That itself is just horrific. And not fair. None of it's fair. My dad always taught me life's not fair, which is why I fight so hard to make it so.
Right on. Well, what would this county look like today if you had local control? I mean, would we
I'll tell you this. Yeah. We feel, I have to say this. I feel, so the Board of County Commissioners, feels, we've been able to publicly state as a board, of course, that we want local control. So I can say, what does that look like to me? I can tell you that it means knowing that our hospital situation, so particularly right now, we know who's catching and spreading COVID, and it's people who are not particularly vulnerable to going to the hospital. And our numbers show that. That's real science and data out there.
Right.
Younger people are getting it. We also have younger people who are now, because of more, I hate to say the word, freedom.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd be using it in this context, but the freedom to go out and do more things. Of course, people are going to go and they're going to go test. Why? Because there are more places, either a work environment or a school environment, where they're having to go test. COVID has been this prevalent, I would say, since the beginning. The testing at a higher rate just shows the prevalency. But the math here in Yakima County shows us that I believe we are already at herd immunity. And I say that because we've had 31,000 people test positive. And, Inslee is really high on using the CDC numbers. And sometimes I will say there are things I agree with. One of them being, I think, a common sense math equation that they've come up with that shows that 4.6 people have had COVID and were asymptomatic. And so obviously weren't required hospitalization. And for every one person who's actually tested positive. So that takes us to about 226,000 people in our population of 258 when you add in those people who've been vaccinated.
Bingo.
So there you go.
Yeah.
What I was going to do yesterday, if he saw it differently, well, I had been pushing back on a lot of things that we got the Department of Health to the day before they admit that they were not doing. One of the things being that they had always stated that they were going to remove test positivities and hospitalizations of anyone who was an inmate or a Department of Corrections officer. And when they made that announcement, I said, prove it. How are you going to do this to me? Because I didn't think they could. And so lo and behold, the day before, yeah, you're right. We don't know. We can't do that.
Wow.
So we didn't do that. Okay, well, then I reject your data. The other thing, we have over 28,000 people in Yakima County right now who are migrant workers. And yet you're still giving me a test positivity rate for 100,000 based off a population of 258. those extra 28,000 people make a lot of difference.
Yeah.
I reject your data. You're not giving me credit for the more people. And I might add, these people are, as we know, science and data has shown, more likely to catch and spread COVID because of their work environment. They are densely essential, which we are proud to have them here helping us out with our ag economy. But those are the things I didn't consider, and so I let them know, hey, you're going to give us credit for these things, or I reject your data.
KIT News Time is 7:25. Talking to Yakima County Commissioner Amanda McKinney. Amanda, I mean, if you had local control, would we be dropping a lot of the mandates? Would be the 50% capacity and things like this? Would you urge that we drop those things if you had local control?
Yeah, for the very first thing, which I tried for, which I will be doing again on the 12th, is no masks for kids outside. And I will say yes. For me, I believe that the masks are something that people can wear if they choose. We are at a point, we still have people walking through the courthouse wearing masks. We know that you don't catch COVID from walking across the hallway from someone, whether that's the courthouse, whether that's the grocery store, it doesn't matter. It's from sitting in close proximity for long periods of time. And again, those folks, this is all about slowing things down, remember, to get to the point where we had a vaccine available to those people who wanted it. Yeah. That was it. Yeah. We reached that day. We've tossed over 500 vaccines as of the 25th. We know that we have ample opportunities. It's free. You can go get a vaccine wherever you want it if you want it. So we can't live our lives according to those among us who are the most risk adverse. We can't. That's not what being an American is about.
Right on.
Quite frankly, it is about being responsible for yourself. And unfortunately, we've seen that erosion. It is now, it started out that we were responsible for people's feelings. Okay, you can't, the freedom of speech starts to get eroded, and now it's I'm physically responsible for your physical health. No, not for something like this. Now, believe me, this is a lot different than someone who, let's say, you see every now and then someone goes and has AIDS or something and purposefully goes and infects someone. Obviously, that's a criminal act. But we're talking about I don't know that I can't protect you from something I don't know I have. Now, if someone knew that they had something, that's a different story.
Right.
But we can't walk around protecting people. Life is a risk every day. And who takes those risks every day? Every single one of us. You choose your work, you choose your play, you choose your hobbies, you do the things that you feel have a risk-reward to consequence ratio that you can stomach. And everyone's different. And the reason why it's so difficult to control 7.6 million people in the state of Washington is because it's not supposed to be done.
Yeah. Great points, Madam Commissioner. It really, it's a different story if we're talking, bubonic plague or something like this, where exposure is a guarantee of a negative outcome.
Or children, right?
Right.
All of us. Their parents, my goodness, if this is something where our children were impacted, of course it looks a whole lot different. But who was most impacted by this virus? The elderly and the people who are already immunocompromised, who, by the way, have always been vulnerable and have always been told by their medical doctors, it's your responsibility to socially distance yourself. If you are a cancer patient and you are undergoing chemotherapy, and we've had this situation in our own family, the doctor doesn't say to everyone down the street, hey, don't go outside, don't go do these things, you can't travel because you may possibly give your neighbor who's immunocompromised some kind of a virus. But we don't do that. We tell the person, listen, we're here to support you. We're your friends, your family. We're going to help you out so you don't have to go to the grocery store, so you don't have to go places. But they don't travel. They don't do those things, or if they do, they assess the risk, and that's their personal choice.